Yeah. Yeah, it's just here, isn't it? I've got my sleeves rolled up already.
Short sleeve order.
I watched President Cabinet last night. They was wearing bloody football shirts, Manchester United and things like that. We've got to be the smartest ones around.
Good.
No, Barry, put your jacket on. I can't stand braces.
You still find out. 1750.
Member for Environment.
Thank you, Councillor Fuller. I'm Councillor Dave Blackwell, leader of the council. Okay, agenda item 9. Have we got any apologies for absence?
No apologies, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Members, do you have any interest to declare? No. Thank you, members. Agenda item 3, minutes of the meeting held on 19th of June. Members, is it okay that I sign the minutes being correct? Thank you very much. Agenda item 4, members' questions on notice. Members, there are none. Agenda item 5, corporate scorecard, performance scorecard. Councillor Manford, would you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Chair. For the scorecard, on the overall summary of the 47 indicators reported, 21 were above target, 15 below, and 11 were data-only indicators with no target set. It's a new format in this report, produced data directly from the MI data now, which is now fully automated, working more efficiently without the need for manual manipulation of data. We aim to present future reports 1 month in arrears, following each quarter going forward, which enables the results to be presented in a more timely fashion. There is 1 indicator per page to show more detail about performance. Areas of good performance: leisure memberships, 4,683 members at the end of Q4 for 23-24, which has bucked in the trend in the lead up to Christmas, as a number of memberships remain the same, where normally we see a drop off. Void turnaround, average of just 11.9 days to get council properties ready for reletting, which is good for the council as rent starts to come in, and good for those on the housing register as they get their new home sooner. Satisfaction with the local area, Essex Resident Survey 2023, demographically representative, shows 73% of respondents in Castle Point are satisfied with their local area, which is above the Essex average of 70%. Homelessness prevention, 45% of those who approach the council threatened with homelessness are supported into accommodation against a target of 65%. The impact of withdrawal of landlords from privately rented sector has caused this. Feeling safe after dark, Essex resident survey in 2023 showed 43% of respondents in Castle Point feel safe after dark, with an Essex average of 51%. We're undertaking work to resurrect the Community Safety Partnership. Participation in physical activity, Sport England Active Live survey is at 61%, doing at least 150 minutes of physical activity a week in 22-23, which is at 54% in 23-24. Council recognises this and has invested in sport facilities across the borough to ensure that its parks and open spaces are well maintained and accessible. Sport England funding of £2 million over 3 years to raise activity levels in the borough. Net new homes fall from 200 in 22-23 to 53 in 23-24. The impact to removal of large numbers of mobile homes has been offset in the new dwellings built. Major planning applications shown on a 2-year rolling basis. Progress made over the year back towards a minimum standard set by government in Q4, performance of 50% against a target of 60%. Performance over the quarter was 100%, so the rolling average has brought this down. The report includes a recommendation that Cabinet gives consideration to the performance issues that it would like to refer to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for further investigation. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Members, I move that the Cabinet notes the report and continuous monitoring its performance. Is that agreed? I also, as Councillor Mumford said, do you wish to refer any the performance issues to overview and scrutiny for further investigation and review? And may I say, we'll leave that a little bit open-ended, so if members at a later date feel that there's 1 or 2 of them items that need looking at, I think we'll leave it like that. And if you have any further feedback on the new format of the corporate scorecard, I certainly have, but I need to talk to the officers about it. Thank you very much. Agenda item 6, Community Safety Partnership. Councillor Savage, please introduce the item.
Good evening, everybody. So this is the Community Safety Partnership update, and I'd like to thank Damien sitting beside me as the Assistant Director of ours and for putting this report together. As is my style, I'm going to go through the salient points of the report rather than going through the whole report, but I'll give you an update, a general update. So, in essence, the recommendation of the report is relating to the Rochford and Castle Point Community Safety Partnership. It relates to the Crime and Disorder Act, where police and local authorities have to work in partnership together. And part of that is identifying priorities, formulating strategies, and monitoring and evaluating those strategies. So if we look at the history of our partnership, we've been working with Rochford as a group anyway, but we've also got close links now with Brentwood and Southend. Going back a few months, so since November 23, the council have been working with partners to establish future direction for Rochford and Castle Point Community Safety Partnerships to ensure that the council resourced to meet its obligations. As such, the Director of Place and Communities, myself and various other people met with members of the PFCC. It was a very positive meeting, and we've been allocated a £15,000 payment to deliver these initiatives. And what that in essence means is that we'll have an active role in supporting the police hub at Kiln Road. We also entered into an agreement with Southend-on-Sea to carry out our Section 17 audits. And as such, as part of that, they've prepared, reviewed and made an application to the PFCC from the Safer Street Fund, which I'll come to at the end of this report. The second part of that piece of work is to do strategic intelligent assessments. So this is the reduction of crime and disorder, looking at combating abuse of drugs and alcohol, preventing people from being involved in serious violence. We've also secured the CCTV CCTV vehicle to aid us in items such as the cruising that goes on around Canvey. And obviously subject to availability, we can get that really quickly. There are some financial implications to the report. In essence, in the short term, the cost of the service level agreement to be entered into with Southend City can be met from the budget for the vacant community safety officer post. The long-term funding and delivery of the service will need to be considered as part of the service review to the conduct by the new Assistant Director, Damien sit beside me, identifying the expected costs and recommended method of delivery, ensuring the Council meets its responsibilities. There are some legal implications also, in that the SLA will set out terms and conditions between the parties and also ensure any GDPR and data protection obligations are complied with in terms of use of CCTV operations. I just want to go back to the Safer Street Fund. When I took over the chair of the CSP last year, I made a comment in there that there was a lot of good discussions going on. There was a lot of great initiatives, but they weren't actually delivering a great deal. And I said, I don't want this just to be a talking shop. I want us to see something tangible. And one of the first conversations we had was about the status of our CCTV, council-owned CCTV. Now, as a result of that, myself, various officers, Stuart Jarvis, Ian Butt, members of the PFCC, the community policing team here, Southend Police, sat around a table, and Stuart and the team here did some fantastic work with Ben, who's one of the sergeants upstairs, in identifying where our CCTV is, where there's overlaps, what the quality of that CCTV is, and in the main it was very poor. And then we also mapped the whole borough to see where there were black spots, where we knew that we had areas of antisocial behaviour, where we knew that there was drug dealing going on, blah, blah, blah. And in a lot of the cases, that CCTV was not in those areas. Now, as a result of that piece of work, the team from Southend, officers here and the PFCC went to the Crime Commissioner and got over £1 million worth of funding. You know, that's a tangible something for our community, and work will now be ongoing to make sure that funding is utilised. Another piece of work that we did, myself and Damien, Matt, went up to Southend to see the CCTV room that they've got there. It is really impressive. I don't know if you've ever been there, but you want to take a look up there. And what they've actually got there is a dedicated space for an operator to view our cameras 24/7 as part of that setup. And so these aren't just cameras that are going to be stuck up on a lamppost. No one's ever going to look at them again. These are going to be monitored 24/7. So it's I take me out off to the guys and girls who are heavily involved in that work. Damien, Stuart, Matt, and Ian. It's a fantastic piece of work. So well done.
Mr. Savage, thank you very much.
That concludes the report.
That is excellent news, and I must say that it was great news. And one of the things I remember going to your first meeting, and I remember asking about our community safety team, and I remember the area district commander telling us we was the only council who hadn't applied for the Safer Street funding. So the previous administration hadn't bothered to apply for it. So that's a good news story for this administration. We worked hard with the police, we worked hard with the officers, and this is what we've done. Community safety is one of our top priorities for this administration, and this is going to go, as one of the chief police said to me, this is going to be a game changer for Castle Point, and the partnership with Southend to monitor it is going to make such a big difference to our public, and they hopefully will feel safer. Right, members, any questions? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you very much, Councillor Savage, for that. Can I just mention that the new cameras that are going to be going in are nothing like what we've ever had before. What they are capable of achieving is nothing like what we know as being the old CCTV.
Just to come back on that, and one of the tests that we gave, or what we discussed with one of the operators, there's a camera on the pier, and they followed a chap all the way along the seafront to the Sea Life Centre, and you could see his face clearly going into the Sea Life Centre. I mean, I don't know how far that is, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, but that's how good they are. I mean, and that's, you know, 360 vision cameras, and they're not overly expensive. So we're going to map out, or we have mapped out this borough such that, you know, we will have good coverage across the borough at our hotspots.
Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, Councillor Savage, about the camera rollout and the programme for that, you will be aware from conversations that we've had and dialogue that although the PSPO, which is in force for Roscommon Way on the island, has been effective from the time it was implemented, it's beginning to lose now some of that effectiveness over the last probably 3 to 4 months, possibly longer. There's been a general increase in events down there of cars racing and all of the usual stuff that we're having before. I don't think they've actually got to the scale that we had at the peak when we had literally hundreds of people on the. We haven't got to that, but it is, as a summer comes, that is being perceived certainly as a problem now. It's becoming a problem. Unfortunately, the police, that I understand, they don't have the resources to respond immediately. When they do respond, I've had occasions over the last few weeks to make several phone calls to the police in the middle of the night, asking them for their response, and they do eventually, and the thing quietens down. Is there a programme in place to sort of get the priorities? And if there was, I would certainly like to see that Roscommon area as a priority, because problems down there doesn't just affect half a dozen people or a dozen people or 100 people. It's thousands of people that are affected because of the nature of the island.
I'll come back to that briefly. The working group, we had one meeting with some residents who came to the chamber. We have stalled on that, and we need to go back to that, and that's something I think I'll discuss with Sonia offline, to look at initiatives in that respect. We have also spoken about AMPR. If you look at Castle Point, you've only got really 4 places where you can come in and go out of this borough. You know, so if we add that early surveillance at those entrances and exits, that's a you know, red rag to the bull, isn't it? In reality, you know, if you can see them coming, you know, straight away, there's that red flag. So there is work ongoing, and I can assure you that we'll carry on with that work.
Thank you very much.
Right, members, is that report noted? Thank you very much. Okay, members, agenda item 6 is the agenda authorities monitoring report, Brownfield Land Register. Councillor Warren Gibson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. The report is only presented to you for noting. It sets out the authority monitoring report for the period from April 2022 till March 2024. The authority monitoring report is prepared to meet requirements in legislation and sets out how plan making work is being progressed, key information on the delivery of homes and economic development in the area, the infrastructure funding statement. Now, the report paints a bit of a mixed picture. It demonstrates that as a council, we concluded work on the withdrawn local plan in line with the programme for that work and have commenced work and stuck to the timetable for the Castle Point plan. It demonstrates that we have been strong on the delivery of employment floor space and commercial floor space. It demonstrates that we have taken action to put in place a community infrastructure levy. It also demonstrates that we have taken action to ensure that a significant proportion of the monies that we have collected for health under the Section 106 agreements are committed to the delivery of a health care scheme in Thundersley. However, it also shows that our housing delivery is poor. We have only delivered 36% of the housing we are required to deliver under the standard methodology over the last 3 years. This is in part due to the removal of caravans which were registered for council tax purposes over on Thorney Bay, although it does not account for the entire under provision. It also shows that our housing land supply position is poor, with a supply of the order of 2.46 years against the requirement for a 5-year housing land supply. Additionally, we have delivered just 9 affordable homes over the last 2 years, all of these on council-owned sites. Our Section 106 and our seal receipts were also low in 23-24, affecting our ability to secure local infrastructure improvements. This is a challenge for our Development Management Service and our Development Management Committee in terms of dealing with speculative development proposals, as the presumption in favour of sustainable development set out in the national policy applies, with a tilted balance in favour of housing proposals. This report highlights how important it is that we get a local plan in place as quickly as possible that sets out how we will secure the right homes in the right places so that we protect the parts of the borough we wish to protect from speculative development. The update to the Brownfield Land Register is also included within this report. We are required to update the Brownfield Land Register annually. At this time, a minor update has been made to the Brownfield Land Register to reflect the changing circumstances of sites within the development management system. A full review is planned to reflect the work underway on the Castle Point plan. This will be reported in 2025. And that concludes the summary. Thank you, members. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Lillis.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions, if I may. The first one refers to page 4, and why has the standard method been used to calculate the 5-year housing land supply position? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lillis. Simply because the national planning practice requires us to use the standard method where there is not an up-to-date plan in place. It is recognised that this does not align with our own local evidence, but we cannot use the figure arising from our own local evidence until it is embedded in the Castle Point plan, and that plan has been examined and found sound as it departs from the national position. This issue highlights the importance of progressing the Castle Point plan as quickly as possible in line with the programme agreed by this council at its meeting in January 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. And if I could ask my second question, Chair. Thank you. Why does the Brownfield Land Register not include all of the sites identified in the Castle Point plan issues and options report that we are considering at Special Council following this meeting? Thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you, Councillor Lillis. All the sites in the issues and options report, they're only potential sites at this time. The engagement that we undertake over the summer will help us decide if they should be included in the Castle Point plan or not. Where we decide to include them, we will look to update the Brownfield Land Register to put them in there. I therefore expect the next Brownfield Land Register to include additional sites from that process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, do you note the findings of the Authorities Monitoring Report 22-24 and the implications that it has for decision making in respect of the planning applications? Members, do you note the report? Thank you very much. Agenda item 8 is Castle Point Borough's draft waste and recycling strategy and issues and options review. Councillor Fuller, please introduce the item.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. The report before you this evening, as Councillor Savage, I won't go through every line of the report. You have the report and you also have the appendix. What I'd like to do, though, is just to draw your attention to the basic purpose of the report, the links to the priorities and objectives, and also to look at the recommendations and detail them. So the purpose of the report is to set out the process for reviewing the Council's approach to waste collection and recycling. This is necessary due to legislative changes and the need to modernise our Council's waste vehicles and buildings. The Council needs to review all aspects of the waste service and has begun this process by creating a draft waste recycling strategy, which is in the appendix. The Council proposes to seek the views of the community. This is very important. We need to know what our community feel about these proposals regarding the draft strategy and the future issues and options impacting the service. There are links to the Council priorities and objectives, of course, and the report supports the delivery of the Council's priorities and objectives as set out in the Corporate Plan of 2012 to 24 as follows. On the environment side, we are proud of where we live and want to keep our local neighbourhoods looking clean and green. We want to help to improve the local environment by reducing waste and reusing and recycling more. And we also want to help combat climate change by making choices in our lives that reduce CO2 emissions. Members, the report contains a number of recommendations, 6 in total, and the proposal is to resolve that in respect to the previous decision on the 21st of June 2023 to revoke its endorsement of option 6B as its preferred collection option as set out in the report to Cabinet dated on the 21st of June 2023. That's no longer appropriate. To revoke the requirement to undertake public consultation on that preferred option, as that preferred option is no longer on the table, we don't go to the public consultation, and to revoke the requirement to undertake detailed financial costings of that preferred option. We note the Castle Point Borough Council Draft Waste and Recycling Strategy, which is the Appendix 1, to approve the undertaking of a public consultation on the Council's Draft Waste and Recycling Strategy 2024 to 2029 and future considerations of the waste and recycling service in order to meet legislative and operational demands. To delegate the preparation, curation, methodology, commissioning and delivery of the public consultation to the Assistant Director of Waste and Recycling in consultation with myself as portfolio holder for environment. We also need to approve the drawdown from the general reserves of up to £25,000 to be spent on the public consultation process, and to refer the results of the public consultation to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for its review and consideration of any recommendations. I won't go through the next part of the report because it's clearly evident from the report itself, the meaning. But I'd like to bring your attention about the public consultation because I feel this is one of the most essential parts of this process. We've said as an administration that we are open and we listen, and so we will be listening. So the public consultation on this respect, waste and recycling impacts every resident in our borough, and it's vitally important that we actually consult and make sure that we understand what our residents really feel about these proposals. So waste is a universal service used by all residents. As such, the Council anticipates a significant response to the public consultation, and the Council will co-design the strategy and engage with the community to seek its views. The Council will properly resource the engagement to ensure it's accessible and meaningful, and this will include a range of opportunities for the community to respond, including online, paper-based and in person. And the consultation is scheduled to take place over a 6-week period, beginning late summer, early autumn, and after the Castle Point plan consultation is closed. We don't want to conflate the two, separate them out so there is a clear understanding of what people are being consulted on. And the results of the public consultation also will be referred to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee before further consideration of Cabinet. And as I said earlier, the actual draft waste and recycling strategy is in your Appendix 1. Thank you, members. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Fuller. Members, are there any questions? No. Members, there are a number of recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1, which I will move from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fuller. Members, are you happy to vote with the recommendations all together as one? Can I have a show of hands, those in favour? Thank you, members. That's agreed. Agenda item 9, the Asset Review Board Quarterly Update. Councillor Tom Gibson, please introduce your item.
Thank you, Chair. This is just a report to note the recent activity of the Asset Review Board. For those that might not be aware of it, the Asset Review Board is a member working group consisting of the Cabinet, which applies the Council's acquisition and disposal policy and seeks to provide advice and recommendations to the relevant officers in relation to the administration of the policy in terms of the acquisition and disposal of council assets, ensure transparency in the execution by the Director of Commercial and Assets of his delegations, work alongside the Director of Commercial and Assets and provide member oversight and input into the use of assets in alignment with the Council's objectives, and explore potential acquisition and disposal of assets based on information provided by officers for consideration based on key indicators such as current asset status, maintenance responsibilities, interdependencies, potential income and cost, resourcing matters, and crucially community impact. The definitions of both acquisitions and disposals are set out in section 6 of the report, as is the requirement that all proposals to either acquire or dispose are reviewed by the board. The board have recently met to discuss several items of this nature, which will be presented to Cabinet as necessary going forward. For example, section 7 of this report deals with our forward plan for the first floor of the West Wing at the Kiln Road Council offices. Following a review, it was concluded that this large area of office space was not being used efficiently as a workspace and was therefore not delivering value for taxpayers' money. Any meetings which takes place in this area currently on an ad hoc basis can be comfortably accommodated elsewhere in the building. More on the future use of this area will be set out in the following report. The recommendation is to note this report, and I'd like to thank the Director of Commercial and Assets for his work in collating it, for noting, and will be, of course, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, list of part of the council offices at Kiln Road, Thundersley to the USP College. Councillor Tom Gibson again.
Yep, thank you, Leader. So following on from the last report, this is a good news story that will see an augmentation of our further education offering in the borough, as well as a significant income to allow us to use taxpayers' money better. As referenced in the previous report, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way most modern organisations work. As a result of the progress of digital technology, Castle Point Council is no exception and now operates a hybrid working environment, enabling its staff to work remotely as well as on-site at Kiln Road. This has resulted in floor space in the council office building being underutilised, and so presented us with an opportunity to consider best use of the building in line with the new acquisition and disposal policy introduced earlier this year. In this instance, the term disposal means to grant a leasehold interest to an outside party, with the council retaining its freehold interest in the property. The proposed lease, along with the draft heads of terms, are attached in Appendix 1. Following a review, it has been concluded that the large area of the office on the first floor of the West Wing is not currently used efficiently as a workspace. Whilst it is used on an ad hoc basis for meetings, these can comfortably be accommodated elsewhere in the building. The building has been used in this way for approximately the last 4 years, and so it has been concluded that it does not meet the council's operational or strategic requirements and is therefore deemed surplus. In accordance to the acquisition and disposal policy, the proposal to lease the space to the USP College was presented to the Asset Review Board on the 16th of April and 4th of June 2024. The proposal was supported by board members and referred to Cabinet for formal approval. So just for a bit of background, the USP College, formerly Civic, on Kiln Road, continues to thrive with student intake, increasing again from September 2024. The college requires additional office space so that existing office facilities can be repurposed into teaching spaces to accommodate this increased intake. Therefore, the college will be looking to relocate some of their support staff into the council office building. This provides an opportunity for the council to support the college as a valued education provider. Then there is, of course, the matter of ensuring that this arrangement provides value for money for taxpayers. The USP College will invest in the space by installing new ceiling tiles and carpet tiling. They will also redecorate the space and undertake electrical works to include lighting management and associated electrical wiring, having carried out some internal adaptation. The council will lease the space in its current condition, allowing the college to carry out their proposed improvements at their own cost, likely increasing the value of the asset once these new items have been installed. The main income, though, will come from the lease agreement itself. Section 6.1 of the report sets out the process by which the space was valued. This process has allowed the council to agree terms with USP College which represent best consideration and value for money for the asset. The council has agreed an annual rental figure of just under £44,000 with USP College, which is fixed until the 5th anniversary. This is unbudgeted for and therefore will contribute towards the council's commitment to ensuring financial stability going forward. After the 5th anniversary, the rent will be reviewed and rebased, taking into account the higher of market rent or RPI. In addition to the rental income, there will always be service charges payable by USP College, which have been estimated at just under £32,000 in the first year. The service charge will vary each year based on actual costs, although a cap will be applied on repairs and maintenance, as it is reasonable to limit USP College's liability in these respects. The formal lease will be for a period of 15 years, with break options after the 5th year. Any risk of tenant forfeiture or potential damage will be mitigated by site inspections to ensure that the tenant meets their requirements under the terms of the lease. This will be in conjunction with regular meetings arranged by the council estate team to maintain the landlord-tenant relationship. The council will continue to insure the building to mitigate the risk of the tenant not insuring and will recharge the college their proportion of the insurance liability. Suitable contents insurance and public liability insurance will be the responsibility of the tenant. This is fantastic news for the USP College as they expand their capacity, our community as it greatly enhances our further educational offering, and our taxpayers as we see yet another example of this council making our assets work for our residents, as should have been the case over the last several decades. This marks just the beginning of our transformation of the Kiln Road Council offices into a thriving community hub and is rooted deep in our commitment to a proper, functioning, strategic approach to asset management going forward. The recommendations are set out in the report which will allow this agreement to progress and take effect. I'd like to thank Darren McLaughlin for his extremely comprehensive report, as well as the wider assets team for their fantastic work in agreeing terms of lease. We will of course be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Members, any questions? Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Gibson. It was a very eloquent report, very informative, and as you say, it's extremely good news. These are just the sort of good news stories that will be expected of us now because we made commitments. On the question of the space itself, I understand that this is part of the West Wing, which currently is not being used. When this occupation takes place, does it leave any residual areas there which they could then themselves also be leased or rented to other parties? And would the presence of the USP College in the area which is intended that they occupy, would that inhibit any way the occupation of other areas under similar lease agreements with other organisations or groups?
Thank you, Councillor. So the space that's to be occupied by the college, it's allowing up to 24 staff, and they're anticipating not to have all of those staff numbers in at any one time, but there is capacity there for them to bring more staff across. There's also further areas within the wing, the West Wing, that aren't occupied. So we have a further 5 rooms that currently are vacant. The college were interested in those rooms initially, but they felt currently they don't need that capacity, but it gives us the option to bring that back to a future meeting, should they like to accommodate more space for their use. At the same time, we're looking at the wider building, and there are separate meeting areas that staff can use for our own needs. So we're not limiting the space that we need as a council, and there's still further areas that we can explore and make better use of, and we're looking at those opportunities now with other community groups, other agencies that we're looking to bring to future cabinet meetings as we discuss those at ARB.
Thank you very much. It appears that really, in a way, that the USP are acting as all pathfinders in this, really, and that is obviously going to be good news, because I imagine other groups will look at what they're doing and think, maybe there's something that we could get in there. So, as I said, good news story, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Darren, for clarifying that. Members, there are 2 recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1, which I'll move from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Members, are you happy to take a vote on that? Can we have a show of hands, all those in favour? That's agreed. Thank you very much, members. Oh, I'll do it again. The mic went off. Agenda item 11, matters referred from the Overview Scrutiny Committee. There are none. That concludes formal business for this evening. I declare the meeting closed. Good night.